Hello, everybody. Warm welcome to the opening of FECC Annual Digital Day Series. So we are glad to introduce you to the webinar in collaboration with Lisam, Streamlining Your SDS Authoring, Distribution, and Chemical Management. My name is Diana, and I will be introducing the FECC today. So, as you may already know, FECC is the European Association of Chemical Distributors. We represent around 1,600 companies via national associations and chemical and members, which cover the whole value chain. We are the only European association representing all chemical segments under one umbrella, all company sizes from startups to multinationals, and also the chemical supply chain functions, especially the interest of SMEs to benefit all members. Many of our members are family-owned businesses. Distributors are in the midst of all value chains, since the services are rendered by distributors vary greatly and comprise functions from logistics and packaging, formulation, recycling, research and development, innovation, training, regulatory and technical advice, and warehousing. The sector, it stands for more than 30,000 highly qualified jobs, directly 4 times as many indirectly. The European chemical distribution sector creates more than 28 billion turnover each year by adding the value of chemical value chain and beyond. So if you wish to know more about everything that's going on in the chemical value chain, we warmly invite you to our annual Congress, which will be held in Sitges in Barcelona from 11 to 13th of September. Everyone can join our Congress, from members to non-members, and you're welcome to attend. Our registrations will open very soon, so keep an eye out from all our platforms. Just a little bit of housekeeping, our competition compliance. I think you're all very familiar with it by now, so I won't go into detail. Just a reminder, we won't talk about any specific cases, prices, or anything that could be considered or related to any infringement of European antitrust law. And about our Q&A session. So you have the unique opportunity to ask questions to our very respected speaker, and you can submit your questions in the box on the top right corner of your screen. So please submit all your questions throughout the webinar, and we will collect them at the end of the webinar so we can ask our speaker at the end. And now we go to the main event. So our speaker today is Brett Brewer. He's the Vice President of Sales in Lisam. He's an experienced sales director with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and service industry. He's skilled in computer software training, Microsoft Word sales, creative writing, and technology writing. Strong in sales professional with a degree focused in economics from Texas. So thank you, Brett. Welcome, and the floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. So first off, a little bit from me. I'm gonna just a quick housekeeping note from my side. I speak very fast, and so I'm gonna apologize in advance for that. I'm trying to speak very slowly. So hopefully, if anybody needs me to slow down, please just let me know. I'm gonna start with a brief presentation on a little bit about Lisam and who we are and our software solutions. So Lisam was founded in 1999. We're a global provider of smart EH&S compliance and practical sustainability solutions, and we fully integrate those with chemicals management. Right now we have about 350 employees globally that support our 2,000 clients, and we also have global support networks in local offices. So you can see that our goal is to have boots on the ground wherever we have regulatory needs, expertise, software implementation needs, sales support needs. And so you'll see that our offices are strategically located based around that. So the nice thing for our customers is whether you're doing SDS authoring and you need global regulation, or maybe you're doing chemical management or EH&S, we have you covered, whether from an implementation standpoint, but also from a regulatory support standpoint. I'm going to start in my next slide with just a little bit about our product stewardship solution. So it's important to note that Lisam got our start many years ago in 1999 with SDS authoring. And so our bread and butter solution over many years has been our SDS authoring platform, which we call XS. So you can see that we do global SDS authoring and distribution, safety GHS labeling. We have a substance volume tracking solution. We do all of our own global regulatory list management. We can do sourcing and indexing of safety data sheets to where we can index the data from those SDSs and then use those in other platforms. We do an on-site chemical inventory audit, and then we have some industry-specific solutions depending on what industry you're in. In my next slide, so about 4 years ago, Lisam was looking and trying to figure out how we move into other spaces within the EHS compliance world. And what we found was that our customers were having an issue from the SDS piece, so whether that's authoring or chemical management, and using that within other parts of their business. And so what Lisam went out and did is we decided that we wanted to move into a bigger piece of the market, which was this EH&S compliance world. And so what we did is we acquired a company called Parallon, who was doing EH&S management, and we actually built a new EH&S software solution called Comply Station, and we integrated that with our chemical management platform and our SDS authoring tool. And so what you'll see here is now we have that compliance software, so we can do full audits and inspections. Maybe you're wanting to do permit management, manage your equipment inspections, business process inspections, certain audits with ISO protocols. We can do a compliance calendar. We have a full incident management solution. We can also now do environmental management calculations. And so we can take into account air, water, and waste emissions and give you a calculation to report to the applicable regulatory bodies that you're needing to report to. In addition to that, we've fully integrated that with chemical management. And in addition to that, we have a training tracking solution as well. So for my presentation today, I'm going to walk through from a business process standpoint, from start to finish, integrating an ERP system or any data system with our SDS authoring tool, distributing those safety data sheets out through a sales order integration, and then using that in other tool sets that we have at Lisam. So if you want to, can you go to the next slide? Perfect. So some of the pain points that Lisam was finding, and some of the reasons, like I said, that we wanted to get into this more EH&S market to push us downstream, we were finding that companies were having a real issue sharing regulatory data amongst all of these different systems that you have internally. So what you'll see here is I've built a little workflow for my presentation today that pushes data from an ERP system, which can be any level of BOM data. So maybe it's your mixtures, or maybe it's a formulation system, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet. Where the data comes from our side is not a big deal. We do have experience integrating with ERP systems globally. So I haven't found yet an ERP system that we cannot integrate with, or really any system that we cannot integrate with, because we have multiple data paths to allow this integration, whether that's a flat file integration or a web services API that we have within our ecosystem. So once we have that data, we then share that to our tool that is called XS. XS is built up of all of these global GHS regulations. And so what we have in there is every region that has implemented a GHS regulation, we have that GHS regulation within our tool. In addition to that, we also have your global regulatory list information. We have a global OEL database. We have a database for phys chem hazards. So as long as we have those CAS numbers, we can bring in all of the data that you need into the SDS authoring space. And then we can fully automate that with a tool called automations, but it's basically a workflow. And I want to go through a few things with that because I know in Europe, the regulation is a little bit different because you need to have a competent person that is building this safety data sheet. So what we'll show is that our goal is not to take out the SDS author. Our goal is to enable the SDS author to do things faster, but also use their professional judgment to add in additional information and produce safety data sheets much, much faster, and then distribute those out. And then we can also produce those safety data sheets and labels in over 53 languages right now, which is also a nice to have. So once we've produced the safety data sheets, we push that into a tool that we call PublicChem. And what PublicChem is really a document management system that can fully integrate with sales order information from your ERP system or an accounting system or wherever you're storing the sales order information. And it can push that, and then we can push that information out to your customers directly. So the nice thing is we give your customers an email, but we also send them a portal where they can actually access the safety data sheet information for the products that they are needing. So it's a really nice feature where your customers get access to the SDSs, but they also get auto emailed the safety data sheets. And we'll talk through that a little bit. But then in addition to that, one of the biggest things, in my opinion, that a lot of our customers are really enjoying right now is also our ability to push this data from chemical management or from PublicChem directly into our EH&S tool. So maybe you're wanting to share these safety data sheets downstream to your employees to give them access to the SDSs, or maybe you want to use these in other business processes, like in the incident management tool. Maybe you want to do audits and inspections of all of your chemicals around the world where you can, maybe you have a container failure in an incident, and then you want to push that to do an audit or an inspection of all of your different containers around the world containing that chemical. With our tool set, these are all options that are now available to you by sharing this data across all of these different platforms to be used in different processes. We won't talk much about the EH&S piece today, but if anyone wants to see an additional demo or anything like that, we can always set that up, or maybe on the next webinar series, we'll get into how we use this data from an EH&S perspective. Okay, all right, so now that we've set the scene on kind of what we're gonna show, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and show you a demo of our tool and how this process works. So we'll do a live demo of the SDS authoring process. Let me show my screen here. There we go. Okay, so I've now logged in to our XS platform. And what you'll see is I have this grid layout. And what this grid layout shows me is all of the different products that have been created in my system today. So let's just say that this has been created within from an ERP system, or maybe we did an Excel upload where we uploaded this different data. And what I'll show you is I have one of these products open, and what you'll see is I have my different composition data here. So I show my substances, I show their value, their exact values as they were brought in. So I now have this composition built. If we had any other data associated with this, those could be added into the tool, no problem at all. But from our perspective, you can see that we've given you a platform that if you want to come in and add in additional data, do a review process. You have every section of the safety data sheet. You have a lot of different information available to you, but I'm not going to go through all of this today because what we're going to show you in the demo was how we automate this, right? So the goal is to show you that we have all of this different data in the tool that builds these products, but then we give your users the ability to automate a lot of this. So what we have in Excess is we have a tool that's called Automations. And what Automations does is it allows you to build in all of the different processes for the SDS authoring process into one tool set. And so what I have here is I have an automation that we've built that allows me to go in and calculate a few different hazards. And I can show you what this tool looks like. Let's go look here. And what I'll do is I'll open this up and you can see that it's just a simple GUI. We can actually add in any business processes here into this automations workflow. So maybe if there's something specific to your business, or maybe you have some different regulatory expertise that you know needs to be calculated or something that needs to be done, that can be added in. For this, I've just simply added in for these products, calculate the hazards for the US, calculate the hazards for the EU, then go in and add in the different blocks and phrases that are required for the authoring of the SDS. And so what I can do is within this products grid here, I now have 8 products that we've created. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go execute this automation. And so what the automation is going to do is it's going to use the data that's been presented. So the composition information, any phys chem data that maybe you brought in yourself. It's going to go in and add in all of the different regulatory list information. And then it's going to run through and it's going to calculate all of the different hazard information for each of the regions that we've identified in the tool that we need to author the SDS for. So this is going to go through and author 95% of the SDS. And I say if you're sending a US safety data sheet, it's 100%. And the reason I say that in Europe, it's 95% is we still probably need to go in and at least do a review process in Europe and just to make sure that everything is there. And so I'll show you how to do that as well. And so we can actually review it from this screen, but we can review each of our hazard information and you'll see it's pretty quick. Oh, so now I'm done. So this automation has been completed. So for each product, I can actually go through and see the region and the results of those classifications. So I can go through, I can look at the different GHS classification results and see that information. But let's just say, so now I'm done. I've done this product. I technically have 8 safety data sheets that have been, well, really 16 safety data sheets that have been authored here between the US and EU. But let's give a little bit more professional judgment. So let's say for this digital day product 1, we need to understand a little bit more about the EU calculation. So I'm going to do this calculator. This is just a quick batch way of doing this. And I'm going to say, hey, go ahead and recalculate for Europe and bring up this different information. And what I'm going to show you is I can, one, see based on these ingredients, the classification results, but we also bring in every classification that we've brought in, we've given you a justification of that. So really your review process is really simple and easy from the sense that we can look at, okay, for respiratory sensitizer 1, this is required in Europe if glutaraldehyde is in your mixture at greater than or equal to 1%. So at 5%, we are 5 times over the legal limit. And we'll first start out by showing you the non-additive properties, but then we'll give you those additive properties as well. And so our goal is to make this review process really easy for you so you can understand your hazards and you can go in and look at those. And maybe you want to change those. You can easily come in here and you can force those classifications from within this screen. And so we've really made this process as easy as we possibly can to not only get the safety data sheets out, but if you also review or deem that a review is necessary, you can easily go in and review that information with the click of a button. Okay, so we'll accept those results. Next, it's as simple as turning this status into okay. So I can just go in and say, hey, all of these have been good. And I can actually copy and paste this down. And I can say, hey, my review status is now okay. And that now goes in and publishes the safety data sheet. It's important to note within the automations tool, we can set up the system to do all of your different European safety data sheets that you're needing to produce. So maybe within Europe, you're doing, 25 different safety data sheets just for Europe alone. So maybe you have in every language, and then maybe you do some combined safety data sheets where you produce, maybe it's a Belgium safety data sheet that you do one in Dutch, one in French, and one in English. We can set all of this up to where from then in this tool, it can automatically send this data into our tool that's called Publichem. And so what Publichem is, I'm going to open up a new screen now, a new window. And now you'll see all of my products have been sent into our document management and distribution tool. And so now I can easily come into this tool and I can search for my different safety data sheets. So I can view them by GHS classification. I can search word, code, names, file formats, any type of information. I can go and search this data and I can find it. And I can also view these safety data sheets. Oh, I needed to reload. 1 second. There we go. Sorry, I got on here earlier and tested it out and I guess it timed me out. But now I can see all of my different data and I can actually go in and view the information. So I can see the GHS classification data. I can see my different safety data sheets that we've produced. So I can see this English safety data sheet for the US. I can see my German safety data sheet. I can download that safety data sheet. And now, in addition to that, if we want this product to be a part of our distributed safety data sheets, where from within the ERP system, we're now sending those out. I can publish this, and now you'll see that I now have the ability to actually go and email this safety data sheet. I can do this manually myself, where I can send an email to my customer, but I can also integrate all of the sales order information into this tool to where those safety data sheets can be auto distributed. So what do I mean by auto distribution of the safety data sheet? So what we'll do is we integrate with any type of order management tool where you may be keeping your sales order information. And what we would take in, it's usually a flat file integration once a day, and we would take into account the product name, the product code, who you're distributing that safety data sheet out, which customer you need to send that to, who are the people that are receiving the SDS. That customer, once we get the order, Lisam would do a couple of things in the processing of this order. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see, does the safety data sheet that we need exist for that product? If it does not, the SDS authoring team would get an email each day with all of the different safety data sheets that need to be processed. And then those safety data sheets, once uploaded into Publichem, the order would automatically process and send that safety data sheet to your customer. Once we've recognized that a safety data sheet exists, the system then goes through a couple of things. One thing is, it says, has this customer received the safety data sheet electronically in the past year? And if they have, the system will go through. If they have, it'll go through another process. If they have not, it will instantly send them the email with the safety data sheet associated with it. The next thing that it will do is it will look through and see, have you made a minor change to this safety data sheet? And if you did make a minor change, maybe you go from 1.0 to 1.1, the system will send that safety data sheet to that customer. So what it looks at is the next time they order the product, they get the safety data sheet on a minor change. And really in the order processing, that is the main process that it goes through. There is one other business process that the system looks at, but this is really managed on a per SDS basis and a per customer basis. And what that is if you make major changes to safety data sheets. So maybe you go from 1.0 to 2.0. Maybe Europe has updated to a new regulation. There's lots of different things that can happen that require a major change to a safety data sheet. If that happens, what the system will do is it will look at everyone that's ordered the product in a given time frame, usually 2 years, and it will send them that safety data sheet update via email. So it will look and it will automatically send that email to them. So the nice thing is, what does your customer get with this? Well, one, they get an email that they can just access the safety data sheet. So it's really easy for them. I don't know why this opened this up this way. They get an email that's really easy for them to access the safety data sheet. So they get a link to download the SDS and they can see that safety data sheet. The other thing that your customer gets is they get a link actually into this portal as well. And so when they log in, your customer can go in and see all of the SDSs for a given product that they've ordered from you. And so as long as they've been ordering the product, they can access that safety data sheet. You can choose if you want them to access all of the different language variants. And so what we see on the customer side that our customers like is this really helps them from a customer service standpoint. Maybe you sent your customer the English version of the safety data sheet, but then they need the French, the German, the Spanish, and the other language variants of that safety data sheet. Instead of them having to email you, wait to get a response, get this different information, they actually have their own portal. They can log in, and for all of the products that they've ordered from you, they can go in and see the different information and access those other language variants of the safety data sheet. So from a customer service standpoint, it really helps you to manage these safety data sheets for customers. The other thing that you can do from within the tool is you can obviously go see all your different customer information where you can see what they're ordering from you, who are your customers that have safety data sheets, and we'll see if this one has any in there, but you can see who you're sharing it with, what safety data sheets have been shared with them, what they're accessing. You can manage all of your order information. You can also go through and notice that I said your customers were clicking a link to access the safety data sheet. So the other nice thing is you can actually go in and see a full distribution log of those SDSs. So you can see that here that I'm looking through and I see a full distribution log. But since your customer accessed a link to access that safety data sheet, you actually get a full audit log as well of not only that they accessed the safety data sheet, but when they clicked it and who clicked that link. So it's really a nice feature that allows them to access that different information. Okay. The next thing I'll talk about really briefly is that within Publichem and within Excess, we can also completely manage all of your PCN dossiers. So the other nice thing is you see this little PCN dossier feature here. I don't think I have any submissions, but we can fully manage the creation of PCN dossiers within Excess for the products that have been created. And then we can manage those submissions through a full integration that we have with the ECHA website. So we want to be able to manage all of your regulatory information through one tool and have this different information available to you to be able to send out. Okay. And I see that I'm pretty much done with my demo. I see we have a few extra minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 seconds. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go back in. And since we do have just a few minutes, I am going to log in and I'm just going to do a quick brief overview of our EH&S platform. It's on the same tool set, but I need to log into a different database. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. And now I'm going to show you that within the same tool, so it's all Comply Station, you'll see that we have a Publichem instance here. We now have all of these different EH&S applications that are available to your business to manage. One you'll see our full chemical management platform here that we call Chemicals. And really what Chemicals does, it's allowing you to fully manage the chemical management process from SDSs coming in to generating secondary container labels to giving availability of these safety data sheets to your different employees. And so what you'll see here is Chemicals is a combination of the SDSs generated from within your excess environment and the downstream safety data sheets that you are using in your sites or for your employees. And so what we do is we add those all into one screen and we give you the ability to go in and search and filter on different information. This is really going to be site driven because the regulation says you have to make these safety data sheets available based on the site and where people will be using them. But you'll see that we have data in here, cast number, internal code, but the look and feel is very similar to our Publichem tool, but you have a little bit different information in this tool. So maybe one of the things you want to actually go in and see is you want to use a field and you want to say, hey, I want to see everything that has a classification in Europe of acute tox 1 at a given site. And so you can go in and add in multiple rules where you can actually go in and filter and view on different types of data that's really site level data. Now, if you, in my initial presentation, I spoke on sourcing and indexing. And so Lisam has a process where we can actually go out, source and index the data from your supplier SDSs, add those into the tool, and then you can see that data available to you in searchable format. So our goal is to be able to fully manage the chemical management process for you from start to finish. And so if you send us a list of all of the safety data sheets that you have, we can actually go out to your suppliers. We'll ask them for the most up-to-date safety data sheet. We'll take all of the data from that safety data sheet. We'll put that into a searchable format. And you'll see in this summary field here, we have some data. You'll see hazard information like pictograms. You'll see PPE information. And so we'll make this to where it's usable data to you and your organization. And then we will update those SDSs once per year. So you have no risk of them coming out of date. You'll always have the most up-to-date safety data sheets if your supplier has requested that information. You can also access the safety data sheet from this tool. Obviously, that's going to be one of the most important things. And if you look back to this grid layout, each one of these records that has a safety data sheet available to you, you can simply click this link and you can access the safety data sheet, whether that's a download or a preview, however you want your users to interact with this SDS, they can. In addition to that, the only other feature that I'll mention here is we do have a document generation feature where you can actually go in and directly generate your label information, whether this is from a safety data sheet from within Excess, where you're wanting to do like shipping labels, or secondary container labeling from data that we sourced and indexed and then put into the tool. You can also generate those on the fly. You just click create. It gives you a document generation. Choose your report template, your report type, and then you can go in and add in your different country information. This is always overkill for my US customers, but for people in Europe, this is interesting. You can choose your language, your version number, you can save that, and now your users can actually go in and produce those labels, whether those are, like I said, secondary container labels, which you can see, or actual GHS specific labels that you're needing to use to ship with your products, depending on how you're wanting to use the tool to have people access them. Okay. All right, so from my perspective, that's about it from the demo side. I want to open this up to questions. I know we have about 25 minutes left, so we'll open it up to questions. And if there are no questions, then we've bought some people some extra time. So I think I have the questions things open. So if anybody has questions, we'll give a few minutes for people to ask those.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a few questions coming in.
Perfect.
So the first one, can you share any success stories or case studies where companies significantly improve their SDS management using this solution? Of course, without any details.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think from a chemical distributor standpoint, this is a really interesting aspect to how you improve your safety data sheet management, but also your SDS authoring. And so Lisam, we have multiple use cases with our 2,000 customers around the world, but one that I will use, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we do have a huge chemical distributor within Europe that came to us about a year ago, 2 years ago. And what they wanted was they wanted us to source and index their safety data sheets and then reauthor those SDSs. So what was the issue? The issue that they had was they were receiving safety data sheets from their vendors where they were redistributing the products. And those safety data sheets would be in a language where they weren't distributing it, maybe where they were getting it from China and then they were redistributing within Europe. Well, they needed the SDS under the regulation of Europe in the applicable language, but also with their logo and information on the safety data sheet. So one of the things that we managed, and while I mentioned that we can have data from different sources in excess, one of the things that we managed was we took the safety data sheets from their suppliers. We took all of the data from those SDSs. We then reauthored the safety data sheets for them using excess under the European law and regulation in the applicable languages that they needed. And then they used Publichem to actually distribute out their orders to their customers. So it saved them a lot of time in this process of what were they doing with these PDF documents that weren't in the regulation of where they were redistributing the product. And I feel that that's been a really successful project for us. We've now done that project at least 3 or 4 times for different chemical distributors that were wanting to reauthor those safety data sheets.
All right, thank you. So we have 2 more. If there's anyone who has any other questions, please write it in the chat. Are there any provisions for collaborations among different stakeholders, for example, manufacturers, distributors, and users within the system?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so what we have in the chemical management tool is we have a tool process called workflows that builds into account different responsible parties for different business processes. And so I'm going to mention a couple tools here because workflow is really an administrative tool that adds in different users that would be responsible for different business processes. But we also have a tool called Actions that is a task management tool that where if maybe you're requesting the safety data sheet from your vendor, they could actually have access to our Actions tool that then you go through the workflow. So you can go from requesting the safety data sheet to Lisam reauthoring the safety data sheet within Excess to then being in distribution where different people are involved in each process of the workflow and required for that. In addition to that, we do also have some workflows built into Publichem where we can give different people access to upload the safety data sheet. So maybe you want your suppliers to upload those SDSs for you in a portal to give you access to those instead of sending them to you in PDF or in a paper document or something like that. And so that's really the way we've managed that. But the nice thing is because of the flexibility of both tools, we can add in any business process that you want. We can build out in this workflow that gives group access into the different tool sets, depending on how you want those people to interact with the tool. So maybe you want your vendor to do something before anyone else within the organization gets access to the SDS information. And those are absolutely possible within the platform.
Thank you so much. That was very clear. And well, it seems like it's the last one for now. So a little bit different. So what security measures are in place to protect sensitive data during the distribution and management?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So Lisam right now, Lisam is ISO 27001 and 9001 certified. And so all of our development processes, all of our platforms, from our standpoint, we've gone through a lot of different audits to make sure from a security standpoint that we have security in place to make sure that our customers' data and sensitive data is not released to the public or to anyone that should not have access to that data. In addition to that, all of our systems can integrate with any single sign-on protocols that you have. And so from a user access standpoint, we have a granularity from a usability that users, whether it's down to the field level in excess, product level within Comply Station, we can be as granular as you want to be from a security standpoint. And users, most of our customers are building in groups of users though that have access to different things, especially if you're a large organization where you have different people all over the world or different groups all over the world. And so from a granularity standpoint, we can build in whatever security protocols that you would like to see in the system based on your hierarchy or user access level.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it seems like it's all the questions we have for now. We will end the webinar a little bit early. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today on Streamlining SDS Authorizing Distribution and Chemical Management with Lisam. Thank you for your participation and for the people who asked the questions. A special thank you to you, Brett, for sharing your expertise and insights with us. I hope you found the session very informative. If you have any other questions or want any other information, please feel free to contact Brett or us. And please keep an eye for upcoming webinars and our digital series, which will continue throughout the week. We have 2 other sessions coming up tomorrow. And once again, thank you for participating and have a wonderful day. And yes, see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Brett, and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.